So in this particular video, we will be shifting this snake plant into this container, and I will be adding a very interesting plant in this container and I will use it indoors. So this, you can see the size is bigger than this one, so I think it will accommodate this plant really well. But the problem with such containers is that this groove or this design over here will kind of make it hard to pull this plant out. So let's just try, and I haven't really watered the plant, so hopefully it will be easier for me to remove the plant. So now what you need to do is just carefully tilt it, and you can see that it is raining outside and it's such a pleasant weather outside, and I'm doing this. And then try pulling this out. You see this? It's coming out. So carefully just do a zigzag motion and then bring the plant out. So this is done. So it's done excellently well, but it definitely needs repotting. So here you can see that the new leaves are more greener than the older leaves that have been bleached because of exposure to more sunlight. So I don't see any kind of change in the color of these older leaves, but the newer leaves definitely have become more greener, and this is what we really want with this particular snake plant. So I don't think I have to really separate this, but then since this has grown really tall, let me just, so I'm just going to separate this. You can just cut the rhizome and you'll get a new plant. So now let me use the same potting mix for this. So any well-draining potting mix would do. So I'm just using 50% sand, then around 20% compost and 30% garden soil would do. You can add soil amendments like cow manure, etc. That's not a problem. And it's always nice to see a soil filled with life like this earthworm that you see here. It shows that your soil is quite healthy, and that's a very good sign. So once you reach a certain height, so let me place this particular snake plant inside, and then I will be backfilling. Okay, fill it up to the same level that it was in. So I have backfilled this. You can add a little more soil to make it sturdy, otherwise the plant will fall. So this probably will go into the nursery, and I wanted to regain that green color, that really dark green color. So for that I will keep this in the nursery, and then once it becomes really big, probably I will ship this indoors. So this is done, and I will be probably giving this to my friend, or let me see what I can do with this. Now for this particular container, I will be growing a Manjula Pothos. So now let us get on with the Manjula repotting. So this is my Manjula Pothos, and you can see the distinct variegation, and it's kind of gotten burnt because I think it's got a lot of sunlight, but you can see how long this has grown. So I don't want to really cut it or anything, I just want to add it as is, and I will place it perched up high in my living room, and probably it'll look good. So for the repotting of the Manjula Pothos or any pothos, you need a well-draining soil again. So I will be leaving the soil that was there in this particular container as is, and what I will do is I will add this mixture of the same proportion. So for the potting mix, again, you can use a very well draining potting mix. You can use cocoa bark chips. So this was grown in that medium. If you see, it's kind of disintegrated as of now, but so this was grown in that bark medium. So for the potting mix, you can use 40% sand, 30% compost, and 20% of garden soil or coco peat, and another 20% of manure if you want. So that is it. So we have repotted the Manjula Pothos as well, and you can just water it and you can place it indoors. So I'm not showing the watering because this is indoors and I don't want the place to become too messy. It becomes easier for me to clean when things are dry. So the watering process is anyway understandable. You know how to water your plants. So that is it for this particular episode. So in this particular video, we will look at how to repot your Geranium Ivy, and towards the end probably I'll tell you how to take care of this beautiful plant. So for the potting mix, I'm using a well draining mixture. So I've added 50% coco peat, around 30% sand, and 20% compost. So it is good that you add a lot of organic matter into your Geranium Ivy potting mix. See how well draining this is. And little bit of moisture retention is also good. That is why I'm using coco peat. You could use vermiculite as well. So for the repotting, I've chosen this conical coir basket, and it has this particular arrangement over here so that you can hook this onto a nail. Now let's start removing this, and look at the soil that they've used. It's very clayey, so we need to carefully remove this. It's not very root bound, so you don't have to tease the roots. And one more thing that I would generally avoid with the Geranium Ivy, since it is a very sensitive plant, is that I would not break this soil. So don't do that. I mean, don't break this soil. It's not advisable. Now let's fill this up. I think this much height is enough. I hope you can see. So this much height is enough. Okay, so because of this flat bottom, I'm able to place this like this also, but I don't know how long it will stay like that. Now I'm just going to add this. ensure that you don't break the roots, and then a little bit of top dressing, and we are done. So you just have to water this arrangement and place it wherever you want. So certain tips about the geranium is that the geranium is quite sensitive, right? So just leave it alone. That's one important tip that I have to give you. Then always deadheading is definitely good, so you can remove these old blooms, and this would in turn trigger more blooming. So this is the dewy jasmine that I have, and look at how it is growing. And the best part is that whenever I see or smell this, I'm reminded of my childhood. I still remember there was this uncle who used to clean his mini van, and he used to buy these flowers. So we generally have a tendency of garlanding our vans and vehicles. So I still remember him getting these garlands, and I mean, so nostalgic. Plants and smell is always nostalgic and brings a lot of good memories. And this is the Medinilla, and it's already in bloom, and it's the month of July, by the way. So I see a lot of ants on them, and I most probably think that they are very nectar rich. Otherwise I don't think why would the ants come and visit. So you can see one here. So a lot of ants. I think those are the major pollinators for this particular plant. So I've recently purchased a clematis, and this is my first experience in growing a clematis, and it's beautifully fragrant. I mean, this has a very musky honey smell, and it's not very jasmine-y. You can obviously differentiate between the jasmine and this. So it's just sweet. The smell is really sweet, and look at the buds. So I will be covering this plant in another video, so stay tuned. So this is my supposedly jellyfish planter, but even if this hasn't turned into a jellyfish, the begonia is really keeping me happy. Look at the blooms. And what can I say about this beauty? Just look at it. The gladiolus is quite glad, and it's also saying namaste to you all. The tuberose has given out blooms, and oh, you can see a small visitor here. So you can see the mantis actually looking at me. So that's what they do. They will directly look at you. And you see those bulbous structures, those are seed pods of the tuberose. And this is the Tecoma stands, and you can see this actually grown on the streets of India. You can see this grown in median dividers and things like that, because it's quite drought tolerant. And this is my Plumeria pudica, which after a long time has given so many blooms. So just leave your Plumeria pudica alone. Don't prune it too much. Don't mess with it too much. Just give it a good size container and some good compost in the initial growing period, and that would be fine. I don't know if you can see this, but I have a passion fruit. Yummy. And here you can see the Spathoglottis plicata, and it's doing really well. And the mauve color, if that's the right color, I'm quite bad with colors, if that's even a color, mauve, don't know. And the color is quite accentuated with all the green elements behind it. And my garlic vine is finished blooming, and I will insert a video of the garlic vine when it was in full bloom. And this is a cutting that I got from Kerala. This is a rose moss, and you can see how big and beautiful the flower is. And you can see the entire reproductive system inside. And these are some of my succulents that I have repotted in these containers. So once this grows good enough roots, and this is the aloe juana, I will probably transfer this indoors. So I'm just waiting for it to establish really well, and then I will take this indoors. The Clinia, probably I will take it indoors and see if it works well. If it doesn't, then I will bring it back outdoors. And that obviously I usurped from my friend. I had gifted him, but then I lost that particular variety. So I told him I'll take it, I'll propagate it, and I'll give you the pups. And here you can see the cryptanthus. Once it has received some shade, it's gotten back the old shine. So my gardenia is in bloom, but it's always in bloom. It's never kind of unfurled those blooms. So I'm still waiting. And I think most of the buds actually drop in the gardenia. I don't know why exactly. It's mostly because this is a very fussy plant, and the smallest of stress can cause all these problems and bud dropping, etc. And one thing about my bougainvillea and the rain is that they don't do really well. Do you see even a single flower? That's my bougainvillea during the monsoons. So let me know what your bougainvillea is like during the rainy months. And today is no haircut day for the sedum, and I'm not complaining. And it's always nice to have some snowflakes during the Indian monsoons. So the beautiful Cerisa foetida, which is doing absolutely well, and you can see how it is blooming. But then the leaves obviously have tanned a little because of excess sunlight. And this is the normal geranium and not the ivy type. And you can see this is blooming. And this one is more fragrant. I mean, the leaves and the flowers are quite fragrant, but you need to crush it a little for that fragrance to ooze out. And this is the Schizopetalis hibiscus. It's not very common in a lot of gardens, but look at how the petals are formed. Almost looks like the circulatory system and veins, and the petal obviously looks very beautiful, and the way it is serrated is absolutely gorgeous. And this is the beautiful Racelia equisetiformis. It's performed really well under full sun, and with all the rain and the sun that it has received, it's performed really well. And this is one of my favorite plants in the garden. And I love this pom-pom rose. It's so puffy and white and pristine, and that's the best part about this particular rose. So this Petria volubilis that you see here is actually from seed. See, because look at the proximity of the mother plant and this particular container. So it's obviously given out seeds, and the seeds have dispersed, and then you get this plant. because I don't remember putting any cuttings in. Why would I put cuttings in an already established container? So what I'll do now is I think I'll take a chance and I will pull it out, because okay, I think it's too strong right now. So I'll switch off the camera for now and then I'll pull it out. And here we have the entire plant. So I will be repotting this. I've repotted the Petria volubilis and I've just placed this container, this pan filled with rainwater. So this is how much rain we received last night. So this is just getting watered due to the capillary action of the soil. Now I'll remove it. That's enough. So this container had a rose and it died, and this came on its own, the papaya, and it's such a structural plant. We undermine the beautiful foliage of this plant. So I am letting this grow and obviously hoping that I would get at least green papayas, if not ripe ones. And these leaves definitely give the monstera a run for its money. And needless to say, it is such a great pleasure to even wake up in the morning and come and look at your garden thrive with life, luster, and a lot of color. So if you have come so far, congratulations. You've passed the test of patience that a gardener needs the most to realize their garden dreams. And I must add here that the Rangoon cuttings did not work. But I will try it once again and share its updates very soon. Because what may not work today may work tomorrow. And with this, we've come to the end of yet another episode of Urbanscape Bangalore, and I really hope you've enjoyed this very, very long video. Additionally, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. The links are given below. And remember, to grow slow is to grow well. Thank you for watching, and until we meet again, a very warm goodbye.